it's been hard to figure out. It's like, why don't people believe this is happening? Like, it seems so obvious. But when you first went into ChatGPT and watching the live stream, did you know that, okay, everybody's going to believe this now?
I didn't know because creatives, like particularly on Twitter, like the worst people in the world. No offense, like I hate interacting with them. Sorry guys, but like they're always picky and they are afraid of like losing their jobs or whatever, or like they always will find a reason to dislike it. But I was hopeful because I felt like it was no longer deniable. You could no longer deny that this was good. Like it just was objectively good.
This episode of the e-commerce playbook is brought to you by OpenSend. Whether you're losing customers to untracked sessions or missing out on abandoned cart revenue, OpenSend has your back. OpenSend's identity resolution tech helps you identify anonymous high-intent website visitors, reconnect with your customers across previously unrecognized devices and browsers, and replace bounced emails with active ones. 1,000 top D2C brands use OpenSend to drive conversions and retention with unmatched precision. Go to opensend.com/book-a-demo and start your 2-week trial for just $1.
Welcome back to another episode of the e-commerce playbook podcast. With me today is not D2C Jacob. He is transformed. He is evolving every day. He is now Jacob _Posel. And he is, do you think that's where you're going to land in final, or is that going to evolve again, do you think?
I mean, if I can get like at Jacob or something, that would be sick.
I mean, that's what I
think I do have Jacob Posel, but I think it's like an old account that I don't have access to anymore, which sucks. So like, I'll settle for the underscore.
So you actually do own your own name, but for now it's an underscore. So you just like can't log into it or something?
Yeah. I have an old previous life of the best friend of an influencer. So I used to have a Twitter account, but that's like a story for another day.
Oh man. Well, maybe you can get that. Yeah, you'll just keep sort of shortening it, evolving it until it's just Jacob eventually. So who is there in that Jacob? What is that Jacob? Is that like who currently possesses this name?
I'm not big enough yet to own at Jacob. I don't deserve it yet.
Jacob Mullins, venture partner at Village Global. There you go. Like maybe that's can be part of your investment thesis, is that like you get
Shout
the name
out at Jacob. Yeah.
Anyways, sidetrack, but we are here because Jacob broke the internet this week as a result of the newest ChatGPT model update, which sidebar before the podcast started, Jacob had referred to as the biggest model update that he had experienced since going back to maybe ChatGPT 3.5, 4. But we're going to talk today about specifically the impact that it made on ad creative for e-commerce and what he discovered in that process. So Jacob, take me back. You were watching the live update.
Yep.
And you see them announce this, and then you just go into motion. So what was the aha moment for you? And did you know that it was going to get as much attention as it ended up getting?
Well, I mean, to really start the story, we have to start like 6 months back when,
right.
when I was working for CTC, and like CTC is always early on things. I feel like that's something that I'm starting to learn. We were working on something called the performance ad library. And so I was always trying to solve AI ads and I couldn't get it. Like I was defeated. I just couldn't figure it out. I couldn't get AI ads and I didn't think the technology was there, but it was like always this thing in the back of my mind. Like it was like my pet project. Like the thing that defeated me was the concept of AI ads. I couldn't build it. And like, honestly, no one had really solved it yet. People had tried, people had like gone viral trying to, but no one had solved it. So I always watch the OpenAI product launch live streams because like the world can change after one live stream. It's like, that's where we are right now. So I was watching it and I saw like this massive improvement in image capability, in like product generation and text generation and placement. And so the very first thing I did was I tried to make AI ads, and I didn't add for Ridge because I don't know, it's just always the first thing that pops into my mind, but it just worked. And I was blown away because this thing that had been so unattainable is now created. And I posted on Twitter, I said, first ads created with ChatGPT. And I didn't know it would blow up like that because it like over the course of the week, I just like spammed Twitter. Like I really went ham, and I made a lot of things. We uncovered a lot of cool things, and it just went absolutely crazy. But yeah, I think it like started a wave that kind of broke the internet, and it was just so incredibly impressive.
So the funny thing is, you're right. The frustration we experienced, I think, together, and I run into this a lot for myself, and I get feedback that I often believe the future is too close to the present. Like and that's a hard thing for me to distinguish. And I feel this a lot with AI right now, is that I don't really know how close my feeling and idea is to reality. Like they feel really disassociative in some way. And I think AI creative has been that, where you and I had been working on this project for like 6 months, where we were both like utterly convinced that this is going to, that this is like an inevitability. It is just for sure going to happen. But it would just like, there were all these hurdles where it just hadn't crossed the chasm of people's mind to believe it yet. Like
Mhm.
they just didn't believe it yet. And it's funny because so much of it revolved around text, which just felt like in my head, not being an engineer, felt like there's so much structure around font libraries. Like, how is this the problem in this like thing, But yet it was such a massive hurdle for people to conceptualize, because that sort of font text treatment is such a big part of advertising. Like it's such
Mhm.
a thing that makes people feel right about it. And then there were little subtleties about products and shapes and things that would just, so we could never get to a place where you were able to do it, where you got some brands to like the assets. We did some stuff with a polo company and a few others where you could get there, but it was like laborious, right?
Mhm.
Like you had to really work at it. And we were talking about like 360 photographing images and trying to get all the best training data and blah, blah, all that. Like, and this is like the part that I'd be curious, like to think about, is that where do you like trying to figure out how to enter this stream when it's moving this fast is so freaking hard to figure out. But anyway, so you see this, it happens. And was it like, was it obvious to you that this was going to be the moment that everybody believed? Because I think it's been hard to figure out. It's like, why don't people believe this is happening? Like, it seems
Mhm.
so obvious. But
Mhm.
when you first went into ChatGPT and that watching the live stream, did you know that, okay, everybody's going to believe this now?
I didn't know because creatives, like particularly on Twitter, are like the worst people in the world. No offense, like I hate interacting with them. Sorry, guys, but like I didn't. They're always picky and they are afraid of like losing their jobs or whatever, or like they always will find a reason to dislike it. But I was hopeful because I felt like it was no longer deniable. You could no longer deny that this was good. Like it just was objectively good, and the
They still
line
will
between
though. Like they still will deny that it's good. Like
yeah.
Bart's thing, like it's funny. Like, but anyways, but yeah, they'll never stop. Some subset are unconvincible, but you're right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a fine line between madness and genius, but like I think the majority of people realized that this was a really big opportunity and it was like so much fun. The vibe concept had finally been brought to creative and people really enjoyed that. Like the ability to create magic at your fingertips was something that was missing for marketers, I think, and for creative people. And now it was there. And so like it was accessible, which was really nice. Like the previous generations of image generation were not accessible and it suddenly was. And I think that was part of the magic too.
Yeah, for sure. So what kind of crazy things did you experience in the process going viral on the internet? Like how many anybody cool reach out, anything fun come out of it that's been surprising to you?
I had like some really surprising stuff. Like I had some people from the FaZe clan reach out to me, like the online group. I had some famous, like a really big YouTuber from England that I used to be a big fan of reach out to me, which was like kind of weird. Like people unrelated that you wouldn't think of with millions of followers. But for the most part, it was a lot of people asking me to create images for them. And I was like, just go to ChatGPT, just go, please, just do it.
It's like you're
Basically,
missing the
just
point here. You're missing the point of what I'm trying to show you.
yeah, yeah. And I was posting tutorials on like exactly how to do it. And I would still get people saying like, you're lying. You're lying to me right now. This wasn't ChatGPT. And I'd like
Yeah, because
link
it
the
was funny.
video.
Like you would see that in your comments where people would be like, "I'm trying it. It's not doing the thing you're saying. It is." And it's like, no, like literally, I'm showing you. This is the screenshot of what I posted. You could try it
Yeah.
for yourself. So now that you've seen this here, okay, I have two questions. One is, it feels like the next big step here is the API release
Mhm.
coming up. What do you know about that in terms of how that's going to impact this process? And how are you thinking about the interaction as it relates to when this becomes more of a resource that you can leverage? Because right now the process is still sort of very one off. You get an image, you make one ad. You get an image, you make one ad. You give a prompt, you make one ad. Where do you think it goes as that portion gets unlocked?
Okay, bit of a first for the CTC viewers, ecom playbook viewers, because this just happened. But I saw some people have been able to reverse engineer the API, so I'm talking to someone there to see if we can get some early
Wow.
access. But that is going to change everything. People are still saying like, oh, but you could just do this with Canva. You could just like you could just do it with Canva. But it's like, no, you're going to get overwhelmed by volume to a place where you can no longer, it's impossible for you to compete. So we found that the best patterns and the best way to do this is like, it's usually to provide an inspiration image and then tell it to make adjustments based on like your product or something. And it does a really good job of taking that inspiration, combining it with your product image and creating an ad, or making adjustments to your existing ad, something like that. And so what I'm going to do, or what people are going to do, is they're going to take an inspiration image and then they're going to take every single product image you have, or however you want to do it, and they're just going to run that in parallel to thousands of ads. And you're going to like, I don't know exactly what the interface looks like because it's going to be early. It might be like a Tinder swipe thing. You might have like an AI evaluator, which takes out the bad performing ones, but you're going to be able to do, you're just going to be overwhelmed by the volume, and you're going to have so much choice that you're just going to be able to pick the winners. And so it's no longer going to be like create one ad and then make a little adjustment and hook for another one. And 30 minutes later, you have 5. In 30 minutes, you're going to have like 5,000.
95% of your web traffic leaves without a trace. No purchase, no opt-in, no opportunity to re-engage. Meet OpenSend, the platform that helps you identify unknown site visitors and re-engage returning customers even after they switch browsers or devices. With OpenSend, you can identify high-intent unknown site visitors in real time, automatically recover bounced emails, retarget via email, SMS, postcards, or ads, and plug directly into Klaviyo, Braze, and your favorite ESPs. It's like giving your marketing team superpowers. Try it for just $1 at opensend.com/book-a-demo.
So yeah, again, there's sort of like the infinite possibility here. Do you think there's going to be? So it seems like a couple of things are happening. One, it appears that there's some constraint that's happening with ChatGPT as it relates to the demand versus expectation for this process. So what do you think? Do you think there's going to be limiters that are going to prohibit that kind of behavior? What do you think is actually going to be the limitation to that coming to life quickly?
I mean, it may be expensive to generate an image to the point where people are still going to have to pay like $5 for an ad or something rather than what they were usually paying for. That may be something that people need to consider. It may be a little bit slow, but when we're talking slow, we're talking like a minute, which is like not that bad. I think that the only thing slowing down the API being released right now is like the number of GPUs that OpenAI has. I think they're already struggling with just the consumer version of this. And when people are able to go crazy, like what I described, there's going to be a ton of load for their like computation abilities. And so that's going to be something they need to figure out. And so it may be rolled out slowly. OpenAI has different API tiers. Luckily, CTC is on a pretty high one now because we use AI stuff. But yeah, it's going to be, there's going to be ways that they are unable to handle this, but like it's absolutely inevitable. Like this is the easy stuff for them to solve.
Yeah. Yeah. And that'll just keep becoming faster and cheaper repeatedly, endlessly over time.
100%.
So
Yeah, there's no.
So as I think about this, like it feels like even the intermediary of, like you said, the picking, like it feels like even that is going to go away. Like for some subset of brands, they're actually going to eliminate their own need to intervene between the ad creation and the delivery itself, where there's just a campaign that is endlessly updated at all times by AI. Like that to me is the end conclusion here, is that like the whole delivery system from ad creation, ideation into delivery, into optimization is just done. Right? Like it's just over.
Yeah. I mean, this doesn't just change creative, like this has to change media buying too. Like the thought experiment is what happens to media buying when there's zero constraints to the number of ads that you can create.
That's right.
And like,
That's right.
I think that's where it's heading. And like, I don't really know what that means, people are going to have to figure that out because it's been 3 days. But like that is the way that people need to be thinking about this. It changes everything about
That's right.
paid media.
Because in so many ways, that is right now the constraint that drives the entire decision-making and logistical process of media buying is when am I getting my next ad? Then I will upload it. Then I will take action. And if that just goes away and it's like you have an infinite pool of always available stuff, what would you do? Like that's a question set that I don't think has been explored very well. So do you have a point of view on that? Like, what do you think it does?
Ooh. I mean, everything has to change, like from the way that employees work to like the way that, like, I don't even know how the auction systems, like, I don't know if they change as well based on like the inputs that they receive. Like everything now works on a monthly cadence basically, or like a fortnightly cadence. Like that's no longer going to happen.
Right.
It's like, yeah, it's like what then becomes the important piece, and like what becomes the structure of your account where you no longer have to do that. I mean, the only constraint there is can you get them uploaded, but we know that's going to be solved as well. So yeah, I mean, you're a better person to answer that than I am.
Well, I think it's so interesting. You're doing an interesting thing on Twitter right now that I do think sort of relates to this, which, and I'd be curious about this part, which is, hey, tell me if I'm wrong, but you seem to be attempting to illustrate or fight against this idea that like sort of the like lowbrow criticism of AI creative is like, it's all duplicitous and it all sort of moves into sameness and it's not really creative and interesting. And I get the sense that what you're trying to show is like, no, this is like the unlock to infinite creativity. Like it widens creativity. It makes it, you're going to be able to do things that have never been done before and never seen before more than ever. And so how do you think about, but that does fly a little in the face of what you described before, which is like, here's an existing template. Here's my product, replicate. That's still more copying than it is net new ideation and novelty. So how do you think about the process to generate that new idea? Because it still seems to me, you can tell me if you're generating the idea for, what was the one I was just looking at? The woman drinking Monster in an old school Panasonic camera view, like that you're making, or the woman on a mini bar holding the spilt over Michelob Ultra. Like that's still Jacob's brain, right? That's generating that ideation.
I mean, yeah, it's like, first of all, those two, I have to give credit to the actual original. I was kind of trying to, you can see in the comments, I gave credit to Sora, but those are from the Sora Explore page. But there are some other really creative ones that I try to put together. Like, for example, there's this legal startup called Harvey. And I showed like Harvey Specter with his brain half open with a robot with like the Harvey chip in it. Like, I just truly don't, I don't think it's correct when people say that this like, everything is going to converge into sameness. That's not true at all. Like you can create ultimate creativity here. There's just multiple different elements to it that I've been discovering, you know, like if you want consistency and reliability, and a part of this is just me trying to kind of work with the people who are criticizing it. It is to take existing app templates and inspiration and create variants of those, because I know that's kind of what people will approve of already. But then there is this other way that you can create true creativity, like the Harvey one or like the Michelob Ultra one that you're seeing as well. And so something that I've seen is like GPT 4.0, it's a multimodal model. Okay. So there isn't this concept of an image model and a text model. It's a model that understands both, and it's able to express its creativity on the images. It's not just, it doesn't need a very, very strict prompt like you need before. And so I think AI is going to be both the creator, like there's going to be human creativity in there as well, but it's going to be able to express itself as the creative and as the generator as well. And that's really exciting in its ability to do that.
Right. And I think it's no different. Like the way I think about it is even in the process of designing the system for the scaled creative output, you can build in ideas like creative diversity, like novelty, like wildly diverse visual aesthetics. Like you can essentially program in that output, right, in a way that does yield that kind of result. And I think that you have always sort of talked about this, is that like, what is the underlying desire that you sort of build into the prompting of the system that does still matter? But my question though is like, is there a intermediation of that though, that allows for the feedback of performance data to entirely drive the creative process absent any human connection? And you're just simply stating, produce X outcome, ready, go. Like, is that the end output here?
I think that's where it can go. And I think that like the foundation structure for that is being built, like Compass and like other like creative strategy tools or whatever. I think that like, I think that is what is going to have to happen. And I think that in every step in that journey, the you can give your goal and you have to be able to define that goal. But once you give it, you have to allow AI to kind of drive towards that. And now that it has the biggest like the biggest bottleneck was the creative. And now that that's solved, I think it can do everything else really well. Like we've seen that it can analyze data incredibly well. We've seen that it can call tools, and we've seen that it can do all everything else that you need that a human does. It's now that you've got like it's like the fuel to the engine. Now that you've got that solved, I think that is where this has to go.
What do you think happens when there's 50,000 AI systems competing against each other in the Meta ads auction this way? Like,
I mean, like when technology changes this much, is this even going to be a SaaS tool? Like, let's just say CTC solves this. Like, would they sell it, or would they just become the best marketing engine at the cheapest cost in the world? Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's solved. Like, for example, a hedge fund, right? Like, if a hedge fund figures out an algorithm to solve the market, they're not going to sell it at a cost. They're just going to solve the market. So I don't actually know what that's going to look like.
yeah, I think, yeah, it's an interesting question. It's sort of like one of the things I've always taken a little bit of the Shopify market position has always frustrated me a ton, in that like I feel somewhat gaslit by the idea that we're arming the rebels in this like way that's like basically to the detriment of everyone, because it creates homogeneity around the execution using the tool. Like if we all get the tool, then I've gained nothing as a user. And so
Yeah.
there's this question for me of like when I see something like this, that I'm always like, anytime we as an industry go, "Oh, this is so exciting," I go, "Oh no, hold on. We just like introduced like sameness in the accessibility of it, like the access." And I've heard this argument as it relates to AI, which is that it's like it's not a value creator, it's a utility. Like it moves to the level of electricity in the sense that like there's not this like value to be captured off of that the thing itself as much as what is done with the thing. And so I'm just curious, like, and this is sort of now getting to Jacob's personal life and your sort of quest to go and build the next great thing. Like, where is the value capture that? Like, what do you think about this?
I am like, I actually don't know. I actually don't think that I have the answer to where the value is here. And so like it's not necessarily where I feel like is the highest conviction area to build, but I can say that I think that there's this assumption that like everyone gets AI, and so everyone is now able to do is able to do this. But like from what I've seen, that's not true. Like ChatGPT we can just use text, because text is like that's probably the slope that image is going to follow. Where ChatGPT text generation has been around for like 2 years now, and it's really really good, and it can basically do anything that you need a text generator to do. And like people still don't know how to prompt. They just don't. Like they still don't know prompt best practices. They still don't know how to get the best out of it. They still don't know how to use it to the maximum ability. And like I don't think that image is going to follow that any differently. I think the highest agency and the smartest people are going to figure out ways to use it to maximize their goals or whatever, and like use it really well. And I think that's 1% of people. And I think 99% of other people are too lazy or too slow or aren't able to do it. And I think the same winners are going to continue to win. Like that's from what I've seen with AI. I just think the winners will continue to win. The people who weren't able to solve it before are not going to be able to solve it now. And that's what I think will like ultimately happen.
So you think it does still concentrate into some human skill, like that there is still some human skill required to maximize the value of the technology that is going to be like other things in that way?
I mean, there's multiple steps to adoption. Like I think that particularly in like the e-commerce world, I think that if I built the best tool in the world for doing this, I don't think that everyone would adopt it and use it tomorrow. Like I just don't. I think people are too slow. They wouldn't take the meeting. They wouldn't take the call. They
So
wouldn't
that
want
how
to
well, but
integrate
how
it.
do you? What about Icon.me, who claims to be the fastest growing company in the history of the universe? Or they claim, you know.
Yeah, I mean, how many customers did they get? Like 1,000, 2,000 or something? Like maybe they're growing really fast, but how many of those people signed up and how many of those people started using it every day? I bet you that was like a very high drop off. But Icon, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily means that it's saturated the entire market. Like assuming it can do what it does, I don't think that it's already saturated through the D2C market.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about saturated. I don't know what the threshold would be, but it is interesting to me that when you get this like marginal step function in change in price at a moment when the market needs it so badly, like if we go and we assert that like the cost of ad, like if there was a way to sort of calculate the cost per ad production across e-commerce right now, to say to make a high quality static image ad on average costs X. Let's say it's $150, $200, whatever it is. Videos $400, whatever. And then all of a sudden that becomes available at, $200 a month for infinite choices, right? I think that you can drive in the short term a lot of adoption for that, like really, really fast. The question is, what happens to that price over time? Does it just keep going down such that, or do the base level things that it's built on top of, like what ChatGPT does, does it have staying power? So there's sort of that, like, what is the sort of the long-term tailed value of the tool at any moment, given the step function changes to what ChatGPT seems to be doing, which is like, they seem to be just saying, well, we'll just do all of
Yeah.
it, you know?
This is like my actual kind of projection or forecast of what I think will happen using GPT-4, using kind of like what happened with text. I think that GPT-4o all the way to like O1 and O3, GPT-4 was like a massive magnitude change, and then it started linearly increasing. I don't think we're going to see this level of change in image generation again for the next couple of years. So I think it's going to stay where it is now, and it's maybe will get slowly, incrementally more better, and then people will start building workflows around that and offer that as a service or as a product for people to start using it and adopting it. But it's not. A lot of people will want it to produce the perfect ad every single time with the first prompt, right? And we've spoken about how like you're going to be able to use volumes to get over that. And like, that's what people are going to try and solve. But I don't think that it's going to be the perfect kind of solve all solution for every single person every single time. And I think that makes a lot of people churn off of it. And the people, again, I think the winners will stick to it and like figure out how to use it and how to adopt it and maximize it for them. But the other people, because it's not going to work perfectly every single time, they're going to stop using it. I think given a world where everyone had perfect motivation and ambition and agency, I think we would see the world that we described, where you can go, everyone just puts perfect ads into the meta ad auction and see what happens. But I just don't think that that's the reality, because it's not going to be the golden bullet every single time. And so people will churn off and the best people will use it.
Yeah. I think there's also one of the things that tends to happen is there tends to also be like you can actually win this battle as the technology layer becomes more homogenous amongst competition. You can win with UI, like in the sense that there's going to be some way in which you described it. Like, I think the example that you gave is like dating apps won on, the sort of this Hinge style swipe left, swipe right. That became a UI change that wasn't a technology change that altered human consumption of the information. And so that's something I'm thinking a lot about, is like, what is the actual like delightful, marvelous way in which you consume all of this creative and get it into meta and get feedback to it? Like, there's something that I think is going to be a big change there that is going to be just the best way to do the thing that everybody's going to be able to do, but it's just going to be the most delightful, simplest, enjoyable way to actually interact with it. That I also think is an interesting, yet to be solved problem, is that I just don't know what the interfaces are for all these things yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And this is my big problem too. Like right now, I mean, I don't know how far to go in trying to build product on top of this stuff right now. Like, I just don't know where the value creation lies enough to feel confident in it. And even I think I get the sense that you're sort of figuring the same thing. It's like, where do you enter? Where do you throw your where does the sign show up on your door that is a business name, and what does that business do? Like, I'm still waiting, and it doesn't exist yet.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there is going to be a way to make a lot of money very quickly in doing this thing, like maybe like a short spike, but I am unsure in where in where like the long-term value is created here. And like there may be second order ways to take advantage of it that I'm not seeing right now. But like I would say that the best way to figure out how to create value is like figure out where it works really well and where it doesn't work well, and just
Yep.
kind of focus in the short term on where it does work well, and don't try and solve where it doesn't, because that's really difficult. And then kind of build workflows around that. But like everyone's going to get the API at the same time, you know? So like I guarantee you Motion is going to have one, and Icon's going to have
Totally.
one, and everyone's going to have one. So like that isn't where the value comes from. You know,
No.
it's not doing that API thing that we discussed.
The part that I actually think about a lot is I think the value is in being the kind of brand that's willing to relinquish this like brand standard premise that you had in your design approval process in a way that brings freedom to the leverage. Like, part of me wishes I was starting a retailer that was almost entirely driven from product selection to distribution to ad creative from an AI level. Like, to me, there's like this fundamental root change that actually happens at the like consumer buying level that alters how all of the service and brands off the back of it change. That's where I feel like something's going to happen first. Whereas we're trying to like use this really, really high powered machine in these like really old structures. And it's like, we're going to make our design supply chain faster. Feels like the wrong solution to this problem right now. And I just feel like that's the piece I'm waiting to see what happens. It's not clear to me yet.
Yeah. I mean, the market is going to decide. I also don't know if like the consumer actual, like a lot of people are saying like, oh, this wouldn't sell, or it's like this one
Yeah.
doesn't work. It's like,
That's dumb.
like, yeah, it's like at the end of the day, the consumer knows, the consumer's going to decide how it works. I think like the best thing to do is just to be close to it so that you can take advantage of these things when they come, and be like agile and be quick about changing your workflows and your processes around doing it. And don't necessarily be open to revolutionizing and changing how you approach things, and don't always try and fit it into your antiquated system, which wasn't designed or even thought of when this was introduced.
Yeah, exactly. So you probably have a lot of people asking you, right? Brands, whoever, saying, okay, other than like, I play with it a bunch. Because I think there is a choice where there is some legacy system. From what we know, there's a designer, there's briefs, there's approvals, there's uploads. Like, there's this whole chain of work that's happening right now. And I think it is really hard for people to not think about editing the current workflow as the thing that they go to do with this tool. Like, how would you actually help people to think first principles from, don't think about your current system, imagine something different? Like, how do people do that? What is the process that you would actually enable for that? Would you create a separate, distinct workflow and not actually allow it to touch your current one? Like, what would you do?
If people can afford to do that, then yeah, I would absolutely do that. Because like, I'll be honest, I don't think most people have optimized systems already. And
Yeah.
so I think to fit this into your system is like not the answer. If you can think first principles, what am I trying to achieve? I'm trying to sell a physical product. And how am I doing that? I'm trying to convince people to buy something based on the ad that they're seeing. And I now have a completely different way of doing that ad. Like, how would you achieve that? Okay. So it's like, yeah, like you had a designer before, and you had a creative strategist because you need to think of an idea, and you need to come up with an asset. But like, are those two things now necessary when ChatGPT both understands the process of coming up with an idea and understands how to create an asset for that? It's like, well, that's now merged. You no longer have to have that pipeline of one to the other. Just like merge those things together. That's like figure out where things are no longer needed and no longer required, and try and optimize towards that goal without like fitting it into something that isn't like designed for it, I guess.
Yeah, I think that the way I've been thinking about this is like, I'm on the verge of like, the other day we were in the office talking. I'm like, I put out this like post on Instagram and just basically saying like, hey, do you want your career to transform forever? Like, email me and I have an opportunity for you. And I'm going to put 10 people in this conference room, and I'm going to say, you all have 1 week. Here's all the tools. Here's all the information. Here's all the people to follow. Whoever makes the best ads over the next 10 days, I'm going to give you a $150,000 job ready, go. See you at the end of it. Because
Yeah.
because my problem is I don't even know what system to try and start designing. And what I feel like, to your point of like, I need the end output. I need a lot of amazing ads my clients love, but I don't feel equipped to go, okay, we're going to go do this step and then this step and this step. I want to give people like a blank canvas, tell them to go read the world, consume your content, go play with it, and just see what they do, see what they develop out of that space, completely unencumbered by whatever my current workflow is. And it's almost like I need to learn a process more than I need to use the tools to change my thing. And so I'm trying to figure out what is the best way to create that kind of environment inside of my company. And I'm tempted, like when I first saw this all happen, I went to Aileen and Nisha and all the people, and I said, go look at this and talk about how it would edit the process. But what I experienced back was like, they started talking about all the hurdles to how the current process wouldn't work with this. And I went, oh shit. Like, of course, that's their job. That's the expectation of the thing that we've built around them. But so they can't actually view it fresh enough yet. You know, like there's this limitation that I've created by putting them inside of this system, that it's like, how do you create a space for a completely unencumbered view of the outcome that you want?
Yeah, I love that so much. Like, please tell me if you do it. Like, that's like sounds like the coolest thing in the entire world. I think like that kind of has to be how you do this. You have to be willing to take the risk and to just be like, I invented a business in a world where this didn't exist, and now this does exist. And
Yeah,
how do
exactly. Yes.
yeah, how do I now adjust to that world? Or how would this business exist given that this world does exist? And that sounds like the coolest thing in the world. I think that people will come up with very novel solutions to it and figure out ways to create great ads. And I think it can be completely different to the way that like concept to design to ad into media buyer into ad account works today.
And like, I think it opens up this whole world. Like I've felt this where I have never been technically gifted at any of the technical tools associated with design. So I've always felt designers always felt magical to me because I could express an idea in words and they could bring it to life. And that felt like they possessed a superpower that I wished I had, because I just didn't know how to go into draw the lines, right? Like I just wasn't good at it. And now I feel like all of a sudden, if I was 20 years old, I could redefine myself as a creative in a way that I never felt like I could before. And so part of what I want to do, and the reason I like sort of want to put this broadcast opportunities out, is because if you're a real estate agent or a, whatever job you're doing, all of a sudden there's an idea that you could be a creative person. Like that's like
So
now,
cool.
right? Like, yeah, that's now in the realm of possible career options. And I think that's what I want is just someone who's sort of like, I'm dissatisfied with my life as is. I'm willing to be obsessive about learning this new thing and play with it. Is actually the human I need. I actually don't want a designer with preconceived notions of Canva. I don't want them to know what Canva is. I don't want them to have ever heard of Adobe Illustrator, right? Because they're going to default into trying to think about how that old workflow overlaps with this new one. And it's sort of like, I just want you to come in and go, okay, here's these things. You can talk to it and it'll make pictures. Ready, go. And at the end of it, I will pay you a ton of money to become this person. Your whole life can change if you become engaged in this, because that's what it feels like it has the power to do for people. And so I don't know, there's something about that I also like want to unencumber us from anyone who has existed pre this, in that design world.
Yeah. First of all, this is how you win, and this is why you continue to win. So that to me sounds like the coolest thing in the world. And like related to that, I was so bad at art in school, like in primary school, which is elementary school, like I literally failed. When I was like 10 years old, my teacher pulled up my artwork and graded in front of the whole class because she didn't want to fail me. So like the class was like helping me out to get me to like a 50%. Like I was that bad at it. And like go scroll through my Twitter now and like tell me that is not creative, Like I have a completely different ability now that I'm so like not talented at because of this capability. So yeah, it's like it changes creativity for all people. And like I'm like the perfect example of that. Like I'm the guy who went viral for it that literally can't draw a stick figure.
Yeah, that's right. And I think inviting people into that reality is part of the beauty of what the tool can do. And so, hey, if you're listening and you want to join my battle royale, please hit me up and let me know, because I am endlessly racking my brain about the right way to interact with this kind of seismic shift. And I'm just really sure it's not like edit my system where we work in Asana and create a brief and then ship it to some designer and they send it back and then somebody approves it. And then you like, it's just like, no, that's not, that can't be the thing here. So, what else, man? What else do people need to know or follow or like, what are you, other than like, who are you following? What are you reading? What are you doing to stay up to speed on this as it's happening? Because it feels like it is still changing so much.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the next thing that I think people should be aware that might come here is video. So like,
Yeah, that's gotta be. Yeah.
yeah, be prepared for that. Video it maybe have reached its peak with Sora. I hope not, and I think that OpenAI seeing the effect of image will motivate them even more to improve video. So like that's something that people should be aware of. And like I say this all the time, but I think people really need to just kind of do what you're saying and just like get as close to it as you can. Like Twitter ultimately is the place where this exists right now and where things are moving the fastest. So I would make sure that you're involved there. There's people who post really amazing stuff there. And it's like even the small accounts are uncovering like really, really cool, like new, like best practices and stuff, which I never would have thought of. And so it's like, it's just an amazing place to be. And like, listen to the podcast. Like, I think that you have to get obsessed with this stuff. And like, I don't actually, people ask me this all the time. And like, I don't actually follow anyone specific. Like, I don't subscribe to anyone specific, but my social media has become, it's just AI stuff now because like,
Yeah.
I just engage with that stuff and I really love it. And I think like just being obsessed is the best way to get good at it and get close to it now.
And what's so cool, I think, about X in particular is like there was a conversation you and I were going back and forth where it's like, as you encounter a challenge, like, can we create a layered file out of this?
Yeah.
Or like, it's like it solves itself like in the comment stream where people
Yeah.
grab the problem, they source the information response to what they're doing. And so it becomes this like hive mind of collectively improving knowledge that I think is like why you do just have to be present. Like it's a weird thing to describe to people. Like, how do you learn? And the answer is like, be present in the information as it moves, you know? But that's what I felt like. I was at Shop Talk in Vegas when this like all started. And I honestly started feeling like this, like, oh no, like the whole world is moving and I'm not present. And so I think there's this sense by which just like being amidst it and watching as people solve problems. And because the other thing it's going to help you or helps me to do, I'll say, is that like, is to think about how people approach when they encounter a roadblock, right? Like, and it starts to give you a sense by which what it looks like for people with high agency to solve problems. Like, because there's two kinds of people that are like, oh, it doesn't create layered files. This thing fucking sucks. I'm out. And then there's people that go like, no, here's what I did. And then I did this. And then I found this thing. And then I did this. And then like, and now it does. Right.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, that's what I'm looking for. And the other thing as a leader is like, that's what I want inside my organization. It's like, I don't need the person who tells me it just makes flat files. I need the person that found the way to slice them up, you know, like, and so I think there's just something about watching those kinds of people that go, oh, if they're around here, we will be in this problem appropriate.
Yeah. I mean, there's tens of thousands of talented people who are just like dying to show their good work, you know? And like, that's how I kind of was able to like create a little bit of a name for myself. It was like, I had no followers and I was just dying to show my good work. And like, and then I was able to, and there's so many people like that, more talented than me, doing amazing work and like commenting it and showing people and replying and quoting. And yeah, it is an amazing place to stay close to the action. I actually deleted it from my phone because I thought it was getting too much. And then I was like, nah, fuck that. I have to stay close to the action. And then I'm glad I did because I would have missed this.
Yeah. And it's consuming for sure. And you want to figure out how to make sure that you can pull yourself out of it. Because what I find is that like when moments like this happen, I get to this place where like I could be physically present in the conversation, but my mind is still so like this stuff is so strongly compelling in this moment that it is turning it off becomes challenging too. Is its own separate thing. But awesome, man. Well, look, I appreciate you. We'll have to keep having you come back in and check in as you keep smashing it and bringing exciting news to the world. And it's got to feel at least somewhat rewarding. You get to drop a couple of I told you so's, and I like to think I get to too, that like this was the inevitable conclusion of where this was always headed. And it's cool to see it come to life.
Yeah. I mean, we were saying it. I pulled up the receipts and people, they were still doubting it. And like, yeah, I'm I'm glad that it actually came because yeah, it's a big change to everyone's lives.
Nice, man. Well, you are the king of vibe marketing. Congratulations on your forever marble bust that you created for yourself that says that you've invented it. So I guess you can stake your claim, but thanks for stopping in, man. And I'm sure we'll talk again soon.